Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Gentlemen, we'll call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the County of Haliburton is located on Treaty 20 Mishi-Saugig territory and in the traditional territory of the Mishi-Saugig and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We acknowledge a shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda for today? Councillors Carter and Feary.
Be it resolved that the March 13th, 2024 Haliburton County Council agenda be approved.
All in favor? That's carried. And could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes of February 28th? Councillors Rael and McKechnie.
Be it resolved that the minutes from the February 28th, 2024 meeting of Haliburton County Council be adopted as circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. No business arising from the previous meeting or delegation, so we'll move right into the planning reports. We've got two fairly substantial reports ahead of us. So Mr. Kozlowski, if you could fill us in.
Everyone can hear me? Okay, red to talk or, okay, perfect,
Maybe pull the mic just a little bit closer to you.
sure. Okay, thank you, Warden, members of council. The first item this morning is an official plan amendment in the municipality of Dysart. And this is a municipally initiated official plan amendment that implements recent changes to the Planning Act regarding additional residential units. And I'm sure everybody's heard about the progress that the province has made by basically giving more opportunity for housing and for what they refer to as gentle intensification of the settlement areas. So just to give a quick overview, Dysart Official Plan Amendment 3, there's basically three components to the amendment, three areas of the official plan that were looked at. The first one, the more substantial one, was the additional residential unit policies. Second was looking at and refining the complete application criteria for applications under the Planning Act. And the final was refining and adding to the types of applications that require pre-consultation. So I'm just going to briefly walk through these. And I'll start with the ARU policies, and then maybe perhaps when I get to the end, we can, if we want to do questions on that, and then we'll move on to the next two areas, if that's okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so the ARU policies basically allow up to 3 residential units on a property that's serviced with full water and sewer. So basically what you'd be looking at is the residential house is number 1, and then you could have either 2 apartments in the house, or you could have 1 apartment in the house, 1 apartment in a detached garage. And again, province is looking to intensify settlement areas and again, create more housing opportunities. So just to set the stage for the Dysart document, the county, we did an official plan amendment number 1 back in November, and that amended the county official plan to create the policy framework to then allow the local municipalities to introduce these policies for ARUs. And so that was approved back in November. And what the Dysart plan specifically is going to do is it will allow 1 additional residential unit in Haliburton Village, 1 additional residential unit in the hamlet area, so one of the smaller villages. And you can have 1 additional residential unit in rural areas, provided that it is on a year-round maintained road. The 2 prohibitions is that an additional residential unit will not be permitted within 300 meters of an at-capacity lake, trout lake, and not permitted in the waterfront designations, as those areas are mainly for seasonal residential, and a lot of them are on private roads. Following through with that, municipal zoning will then establish the performance standards for these additional residential units, such as setbacks, size, height, so on. Other sections and subsections of the Dysart plan are also amended, and this is more administratively. So the previous terminology, which was secondary dwelling, will then be replaced with additional residential unit verbiage for consistency. So are there any questions on that component of the Dysart amendment?
Counselor Dayuk and then Counselor Carter.
Thanks. A process question. Say, for example, there's a waterfront, a property zone waterfront, which just so happens to otherwise meet the kind of criteria that you would look for the inclusion of a secondary dwelling. And imagine it's, 50 acres in size and it all kind of works out. Would that property be able to apply for a minor variance or to the zoning bylaw for that to be brought to consideration?
The policy introduced here through this amendment is pretty specific. It says it's not permitted in a waterfront designation. So I believe the Dysart OP, the waterfront designation extends back a certain number of meters from the lake. I don't know if that's 100 or 200, 300 meters. It's kind of a buffer around the lake. So a waterfront parcel, if it's in the waterfront designation, the policy would not allow it. Thank you.
Counselor Carter.
And when reading through last night, I saw this and what you just mentioned about being a road that is sort of assumed and maintained. So if it's on a private road, then you can't do this, right? So I guess we will all have to watch because we'll be getting a lot of pressure to assume roads, right, in all of our townships. Anyway.
Counselor Ryall.
Just a question, you take some of the smaller roads. Can they be classified as mutually shared driveways? In other words, I've got 3 houses on a private road, but it's only 600 meters long. And so they say, no, this is basically a shared driveway, not a road. How would they cover that?
Well, that scenario, it sounds to me like if this, if it was a 100-acre parcel and it had a long driveway out to a year-round road, then it would qualify. You'd be allowed one. Sorry.
What I meant was there's 3 separate properties on this private road. Okay, 3 separate ones.
Yeah.
And they all are dated separately, but they have come and said, we share that driveway. That's a shared driveway to get into our properties. It's not a private road. Is that something that could become a gray area?
Yeah, just off the top, it does sound great. And I know there are situations out there where you have properties that have houses and they have shared driveways. I think the key here is that the lot in question has to have frontage on and access to a year-round maintained road. So that is a good question. If they do have access over a shared driveway, that might be something that the local staff would look at as considering maybe under a rezoning to recognize that scenario, but it'll be very case by case in that situation.
Any other questions on that portion? Carry on.
The second component of the amendment is the Dysart plan has updated and refined the complete application criteria. And the Planning Act and County Official Plan have policies that establish authority to request information as part of a complete application. And if a application is not complete, obviously cannot process it until certain materials and information are received. So the policy changes specific to this instance is that peer review comments and agency comments are now required as part of a complete application. So prior to this policy change, let's say, for example, an official plan amendment that was fronting on a provincial highway, the applicant submits the form and a traffic study. Under the old policy, that would be considered a complete application. And so what this policy will do is now say, well, we're not going to consider it complete and we're not going to start the clock for approval timelines until we have a peer review of the traffic study and the MTO has commented. So this way council has the complete picture in front of it and all of the comments have been vetted. And so that should, by front ending that requirement, it should allow the applications to be processed more efficiently because, you know, we've done the work ahead of time before it's come to council. So that should also help reduce deferrals or more information or comments.
Any questions on that? Carry on.
And the final component of OPA 3 is pre-consultation requirements. So under the Dysart plan, currently an official plan amendment, a zoning amendment, or a subdivision requires mandatory pre-consultation. And what this amendment will do, it's going to add site plan approval and minor variances to that list of application types that have to be looked at previously by staff. So I remember before pre-consultation, a consultant would walk in on Friday at 4 o'clock and literally drop a stack on the desk and say, have a nice weekend. Now what we do is we have to have had a meeting or, you know, an email exchange reviewing the application to make sure it conforms with the policies and that we've outlined the studies. So now site plans and minor variances in Dysart will require mandatory pre-con. They did not before under the previous policy. Any questions on that?
Questions? Councillor Fury?
Site plan approval, does that require a survey then and every time, or is that just a sketch?
I would suggest that it depends on the size of it. So if it was an industrial development, I would probably want a surveyor sketch. If it was a site plan, that's a part of like a condition of a minor variance. If it was done in AutoCAD or even by hand, but it's to scale and accurate, it's at the discretion of council, really, what they want to see. Yep.
Best to check. Any other questions?
So just in conclusion, so Dysart OPA 3 did have 3 public meetings in September, October, and November of 2023, and it was adopted at the December 12th council meeting of 2023. No appeals were received, and subsequent to that, the county posted in the Haliburton Echo. We did a 30-day comment period. We received no comments. So staff are satisfied that Dysart OPA 3 is in conformity with the county official plan, and we recommend approval without modification. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hearing no further questions, can I have a mover and a seconder then to approve this amendment to the OP? Councillors Burton and Fury.
Be it resolved that planning report PLN 04 2024 concerning file number 4624 OPA 003, which is in relation to the official plan amendment number 3 to the municipality of Dysart et al. Official plan be received by Haliburton County Council for information, and that Haliburton County Council approves in its entirety and without modification official plan amendment number 3 to the municipality of Dysart et al. Official plan that was adopted by the Council for the municipality of Dysart et al. On December 12, 2023 via bylaw number 2023-111.
All in favor? That's carried. Okay, if you want to tell us about OPA number 4.
Thank you, Warden, to council. So official plan amendment 4 to the Dysart OP is a private initiated plan amendment. And this is for Mr. Pat Casey, who's with us today, if there are any specific questions about the property. Just for background, the property is located at 6620 Gellert Road, and that's the dwelling at the north end of the lot. And at the south end of the property at 6522 Gellert is the total site services contractor's yard business. And this is just south of Haliburton Village. Property is 35.5 acres, and the south 9.5 acres is what this amendment is pertaining to today. This part of the property, basically where the contractor's yard is now, was previously licensed for Fowler for extraction as part of the quarry operation to the south. And in 2020, Fowler applied to the ministry to basically amend its license to remove the licensed area from the Casey lands, as they were not intending to extract there. So what ended up happening is that south end of the Casey property has this existing mineral aggregate resources overlay that reflects the previous license. And what this amendment will do is remove the mineral aggregate resource overlay and replace it with the employment area overlay. That overlay basically recognizes the contractor's yard, so we don't have a conformity issue anymore with the previous designation. So it could be considered an administrative amendment. There's no additional development proposed at this time. It's really just to clean up the designation. There is a concurrent zoning amendment, and that would rezone the property from extractive industrial, just recognizing that that's not the intended use anymore, to general industrial, which would recognize the contractor's yard. Dysart had a statutory public meeting on December 12th. There were no comments or objections. The official plan amendment was approved at that public meeting, and there were no appeals. County circulated neighbors within 400 feet, and we also opened a comment period on January 10th for 30 days. We did not receive any comments. Hiawatha First Nations wrote back and said that they had no concerns. So in conclusion, official plan amendment 4 is in conformity with the county official plan and the 2020 PPS, and staff recommend approval of the amendment without modification. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Questions? The only question that I would have, I know that sometimes when there has been a mineral extraction area in place, even though it's not being used anymore and the zoning has been changed, that it's somehow protected on a long term. I just wonder I'm just wondering if there's any way that this could come back on Mr. Casey at some point in the future.
Short answer is no, because the designation is going to change to employment. So the aggregate reference is going to be removed. The aggregate license that was on the property has been revoked. If they wanted to establish aggregate in the future, they would have to go through the necessary approvals.
Okay. Any other questions? Could I have a mover and a seconder then to approve the OPA amendment number 4? Councillors Carter and Royale.
Be it resolved that the planning report PLN 05 2024 concerning file number 4624 OPA 04, which is in relation to the official plan amendment number 4 to the municipality of Dysart et al. Official plan, be received by Haliburton County Council for information, and that Haliburton County approves in its entirety and without modification official plan amendment number 4 to the municipality of Dysart et al. Official plan that was adopted by the council for the municipality of Dysart et al. On December 12, 2023 via bylaw number 2023-109.
All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Mr. Casey. Next on the agenda is the Public Works status report. Good morning.
Morning, Warden, members of council. Today, I have the Public Works monthly status report. I just have one item to note that we did receive delivery of our new loader on March 7th. So it's a good thing.
Good news for the Public Works
Yeah,
Department.
long time to get it, but and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions on the status report for Public Works? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to receive it? Councillors Shell and Burton.
Be it resolved that the March 2024 status report on capital projects, operations and approvals and road maintenance be received for information by Haliburton County Council.
All in favor? That's carried.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. We will now go into closed session. So could I have a mover and a seconder to go into closed? Councillors Carter and Dayu.
Be it resolved that Haliburton County Council enter into closed session for the following reasons: a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which if disclosed could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization, and labor relations or employee negotiations.
All in favor? That's carried. Could I have a mover and a seconder to ratify the collective agreement for QP? Councillors Carter and Burton.
Be it resolved that Haliburton County Council ratifies the collective agreement with CUPE Local 1960 and that the necessary bylaw be presented for approval.
All in favor? That's carried. Next is the bylaw section, and the first is the bylaw to adopt the 2024 budget. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Carter and Councillor Fury.
Be it resolved that bylaw 4232, being a bylaw to adopt the 2024 budget for the corporation of the county of Haliburton, be considered to be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and the seal of the corporation be affixed.
All in favor? That's carried. Next is the bylaw to establish the 2024 tax ratios. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Carter, Councillor Dayu.
Be it resolved that bylaw 4233, being a bylaw to establish the 2024 tax ratios for the municipalities in the county of Haliburton, be considered to be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and the seal of the corporation be affixed.
All in favor? That's carried. Question?
Just a suggestion is that now that we've done that, that we should, as a county, issue a press release so that the exact numbers are actually printed in the paper as opposed to somebody miscalculating and mixing up the levy and the tax increases, which happens way too often. So I think a press release would be a way to go.
I am just waiting for the library board to finalize their budget discussions, and then all budget documents will be updated and put on the county website and shared through our social media channels.
Well, press release is not a bad idea. I mean, maybe Scott could help with that.
I can
Once we have.
yeah, once everything's finalized, you can definitely add that. Mhm.
What, someone in the newspaper might mix something up? Finally, a bylaw to establish a 2024 property tax rates for upper tier purposes. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Burton and Shell.
Be it resolved that bylaw 4234, being a bylaw to establish the 2024 property tax rates for upper tier purposes, apportionment of the upper tier tax revenue among the lower tier municipalities, and establish installment dates and percentages for the payment of the tax revenue to the upper tier by the lower tier municipalities, be considered to be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed, and the seal of the corporation be affixed.
All in favor? That's carried. Are there any notice of motions? Before we get to the confirming bylaw, Councillor Burton has asked to give a brief update on upcoming CPAC meeting.
It was just more of a reminder that we do have a meeting on Friday at 10, and I look forward to everybody being there, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what they have to bring to the table. They did ask if we had any input or anything we wanted to add to it, by all means. I did see some people had, but we will certainly see you there on Friday at 10.
Thank you, sir. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the confirming bylaw? Councillor Fayal, and are you?
Be it resolved that bylaw 4235, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the March 13th, 2024 meeting of Haliburton County Council, be considered to be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and the seal of the corporation be affixed.
All in favor? That's carried. And finally, a motion to adjourn. Councillor McKechnie, seconded by Councillor Carter.
Be it resolved that the March 13th, 2024 meeting of Haliburton County Council be adjourned.
All in favor?
32.
That's carried.